are doing that at their own peril. I may regard this as an intellectual paper. I may regard this Guardian as the best in Africa. Yes, fashioned after the Guardian of London. Yes. So I have come here to pay homage to you people, to appreciate what you are doing. And I value all of you. So that's why we are here. And I'm also here to tell you about the activities of Customs. Customs is one of the oldest organizations in Nigeria that many of you don't know. Customs before 1861 was in existence, but it was not centralized. Even before colonialism, there was custom. Yes. If you read the book of Olala, two systems in the land. We call it international abolition. Europeans, they were paying duty in each community that they pass. That was custom for you. Even the German, the British, that was exactly what they were doing. King Akintoye and Akintoye, they were organizing trade in Lagos during colonialism too. 3% on import, 2% on export. That was custom for them. Benin Empire, as of 1472, has a trade relationship with the Portuguese. A man called Squirrel, was already in Benin organizing trade. And Benin people were collecting duty from them before even the station of colonialism take it to Benin. And in order for them to have direct access with Benin traders, that was what led to Benin expedition of 1897, when Benin was almost massacred when they brought them down. It was the issue of duty. They wanted to be dodging duty they were paying to the Benin monarchy. That was what caused that war, where Philippines, British people were murdered. Now, let's look at about colonialism. What was the role of customs during colonialism? Without customs, colonialism would have lasted. Oil was discovered in Nigeria in 1956, in Oloibe, in 1958 in Ogun. So before this time, there was no oil. It was Nigerian customs that was any money that was used in sustaining Nigerian states. And that was why the Minister of Finance, Okotie, said that the economy of a region depends on the revenue collected by customs from indirect taxes and so on and so forth. As far back as 1849, a Gray, Secretary of British Economy, established a policy that colonial territory should provide money that you be using to sustain colonial territories, and also in building factories and industries in Europe. All these Manchester United, the Barclays Bank, so on and so forth, they were sustained through the money that Nigerian customs collected during that period. Because at that time too, Nigerian market was the best, greatest in Africa, because we had the population. So when after the Berlin Conference of 1884 and 1885, British saw something in Nigeria, and they made all effort to make sure that they exploit Nigerian resources. If you read to you read the book by Walter Rodney, I read on the Africa. Chinwe is the west and rest of us. You will begin to understand what I'm telling you. The exploitation was much. Now, beyond that, I regard Guardian as an intellectual house. So that's why I will go a little bit deeper than in other places. So you'll understand better. Yes. You must have heard about the Second World War between 1939 and 1945, between the Allied and its Axis powers. The Allied powers were headed by Britain and America. The Axis powers were headed by Germany, Japan, and Italy, under Mussolini and so on and so forth. Now, do you know that Nigeria contributed significantly for them to win that war? Our forefathers fought in Burma War. Besides that, Nigerian customs generated money in sustaining that war. Now, there was a deliberate policy by the British government that all the goods being produced in Nigeria should not be shipped to the countries of the Axis powers. And already at that time, they were already had what you call industrial revolution in Europe. So everything was now dependent on machines. And also they had a policy that all the product produced in Germany, in Japan and so forth should not be shipped to Nigeria, even in colonies in Africa where they had sway and control. So that brought the economy of Germany down, or parts of Europe. The goods they produce, they cannot sell. The raw materials that were mainly needed by Europe cannot get to them. So economically, that war was won on the economic front before the actual war, before Hitler collapsed, before the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, by a bomb established by Albert Einstein using the formula E_mc squared, E energy mc mass is the formula that was used in establishing the bomb that finished Japan. So you can see the role of Nigerian Customs Service. Very noble and very rule. And many Nigerians don't know about that. Now, going forward, during the Nigerian Civil War, Nigeria did not borrow a penny to execute that war. Obafemi Awolowo was the finance minister. He testified to this. It was the money earned by Nigerian Customs, duty paid on ports that were used in executing that war. Now going to the oil boom, when oil boom started, when we had so much supply of oil, going more than 2 million barrels per day, money was in the hands of people to import. So when they import, the duties that they were paid were used in sustaining Nigeria. Then during the structural adjustment of the 80s by Babangida, when there was oil glut, it was customs that sustained because much money was not coming from oil. Because the price of oil in international market was bastardized. It was Nigerian customs that was sustaining Nigeria. Now, may I inform this house that there are many functions of Nigerian Customs Service, but I will just take three. One, revenue generation. I have always told you that before colonialism and after colonialism, that Nigerian Customs has any money to sustain the Nigerian state. Even in contemporary times, as of last year, our target was 5 trillion. And we overpassed the target and got 3.1 trillion. This year, we're also going to overpass our target. In Seme, where I serve, last year our target was 6 trillion, but 6 billion, but we got 7 billion. From January till now in Seme, we have earned 3.5 billion. Now the customs has not, they have not come out with the target for this year. But because we earned 7 billion last year, it cannot be anything less than 7 billion. We are expecting about 8 billion. So we are going to overpass that 8 billion. Because towards the end of the year, there will be more activities. People will drink and smoke. So the more they drink and smoke, the more we make our money.
Wow.
So in terms of revenue, we are doing marvelously well. Now the other one is on custom activities, goods, illegal goods. That's an area that Nigerian customs have done perfectly well. As well, we are according to United Nations, about 10 million arms, light weapons are in Nigeria, in the hands of the state actors. And you know where arms are in the hands of the state actors, you can't control it. That's why you have Boko Haram, El Shabaab, West African Province, and so on and so forth. Especially after the fall of Gaddafi in 2011, arms begin to flow through the Sahel region down to this place. Coupled with the tendencies of the imperialist powers, because the arms they produce must go somewhere. And these arms are finding their way into the hands of non-state actors. Customs had been seizing those arms and ammunition. Our CGC with Awala Daniel, as soon as he assumed office, within the first 1 month, he seized about 444 rifles from Port Harcourt. And all over the place, there had been seizures of arms and ammunition. That had been the job of customs. It's not only that. Look at this rice, for example. People are asking, why are we seizing rice? We are seizing rice to protect our local industries. Nigeria is the highest producer of rice in Africa. 8,435,000 metric tons. Followed by Tanzania, Rwanda, Egypt. But they cannot sell because people prefer foreign rice. And when you do that, you are crippling the industries that are producing those rice mills. So it is a job of the Nigerian government to make sure that people patronize that local rice. That's why it's banned at the border. And we are seizing them. That's exactly what we are. Since I came, I see thousands of rice, bags of rice in Seme. I want to talk about second-hand clothing. Because of poverty in Africa, because of poverty in Nigeria, people are patronizing these cloths, used cloths, not knowing who wore them in Europe before now. Most of the clothes are being worn by leprosy patients, cholera, and so on and so forth. But because people are even importing pants, used pants, brazier to wear. It is also the role of government to safeguard the health of Nigerians. That's why we are seeing them. If you go to our warehouse now, our warehouse is filled up with second-hand clothing. And what we normally do, we burn them because we don't want to go into the hands of people at the detriment of their health. Look at tires. Before now, we used to have Michelin, all these tire companies in Nigeria. They have all collapsed because people prefer second-hand tires. In Europe, they don't use them. They are expired. Every day, on Ibadan Lagos Road, for example, there's no day at least 2 people don't. Okay, let me say what in a week. You don't have other people dying on that road because the road is good. On high speed, the tire will burst because these are expired old tires. At times, 20 people die at a time. That's why government have banned them, and we have the sacred duty to make sure that we enforce them. This is some of the things that we do in custom involved in the course of anti-smuggling activities. Now let's all look at hard drug. This is an area I'm so passionate about. My first posting as a controller was in Kebbi. I brought drug pusher to a standstill. Major General Marwa had to give me an award as an ambassador against drug abuse and marketing. Now, when I came to Oyosho, I came with a historical knowledge of the evil effects of fake drugs. I know in 1989 in Kano, 150 children died because of ethylene glycol that was put in paracetamol. In Zambia, in 2022, about 22 people died. In 1990 in Jos, 67 children died because of ethylene glycol. Ethylene glycol is an old-different substance, sweet, that is used in manufacturing sweet and dyes. In order for the product to be tasted to the children, they will be putting it inside this and people will be dying. I came with that mindset. I also remember the work of Professor Akonyele in fighting hard drugs, they stand still. All the bridges in Onitsha, they use all the stores in manufacturing fake drugs. Somebody will buy Augmentin. You think you are drinking antibiotics, not knowing that the active ingredients that are not there. Akonyele, a senior sister, died. She had an operation. In the hospital, they were drinking, not knowing that all they were drinking were fake drugs, and the woman died. That induced her fighting against fake drugs. So I came with that mindset in Oyosh. And I told them that the new sheriff is in town. The first issue I made 1.2 billion of truck filled with fake drugs, augmenting. And our CGC commended me. In Seme, when I came, 3 to 4 days, I see a hired bus filled with cannabis drugs. Because I know what drug is doing to us. In a study in 1988 by United Nations on Crime and Drug, say 1 out of 7 Nigerians are addicted to drugs. As we are sitting here, our children are in the school, you think they are schooling. Our future leaders are taking drugs. And that's why America is doing everything possible to make sure that drug is reduced in the United States. That's why they can go to Vietnam, they can go to all these South American countries to arrest drug barons and bring them to America and try them. They can do anything to stop it because they know the effect. So these are the things that we do. And I will be seizing the drugs. And I have told my officer, don't compromise on customs, especially arms and ammunition and drugs. Because in the last day, it's a blood money you answer before God. Because when you shoot a gun inside the market, you don't know who it will touch. Even our dear President Tinubu said that fighting against drug abuse is not a matter of policy. It's a matter of moral imperative. That any nation in war with drugs is a minus and not a dividend. That the strength of our institutions, the future of our children, tied in a drug-free society. No human being will kill another person if he's not addicted to drug. So in every crime, drug has a role to play. That's why we should all make sure we are fighting them. So these are the jobs. We also involved in defending our diversity, like our cultural artifacts that are being smuggled over. Like the donkeys and the animals, that's what you call CITES, International Convention Against Endangered Species. Chinese, other foreigners are here exporting this illegally at our own detriment. We are making sure that they don't. I have seen in a KB, I've seen 3 truckloads of donkeys that were about to be exported to China. They did everything to stop me. They wrote petitions. They used the press on me. I told her, ENIOLA to do that time. What happened? But I went to the management with my intellectual background. I was able to. I gave them the site a height was formed in 1973 before the securities and where. And I showed them that we are bound by the law, and they accepted it. Those 3 trucks were seized and destroyed. So there are many other functions which are tied. But if you go to section 4 of our Act, 2023 Act, you will see the obligations of customs. We generate revenue. We also involve in the marketing and stopping border crimes. And we are supposed to engage other stakeholders. And that's why I'm here. It's part of my job to engage stakeholders so that you can help me to educate the Nigerian public. And we are doing all these things with all the difficulties it entails. The federal government is trying, but you know, as oligarchies, we continue to demand for more. We don't have enough vehicles, but the CG's presence is trying his best. I will come to that later. If you look at, we have about 1,400 porous borders in Nigeria, because it's large. The borders we have is about 4,400 with other neighboring countries. With Benin, 773 kilometers. With Niger, it's 1,470. With Cameroon, 1,690. With Chad, 83 kilometers. Benin, 773. So we are operating in a very vast terrain. The border between Pakistan and India is about 1,350. Between Saudi Arabia and the neighboring countries, it's at 1,450. But here we are talking about 4,400. So it's a wide area. Even if you line up the whole custom officers, they will not be able to eradicate smuggling. But in fact, it's going to smuggling. There's no part of the world they have regulated smuggling. What you are talking about is to reduce it. Like even with low technology, we don't have drones. We don't have, unlike in America, where a customs officer will stay in a room and be watching somebody clambering the walls of Mexico. But despite of that, in every month, there's no month that we don't lose one customs officer to smugglers. It's a terrible job. Even as where I'm living in Seme, every day threat. But this is a job we have signed. We sign if possible to pay the supreme sacrifice. So members of the press, my dear friend, this is our story. And above all, we are going to end with this. I want to tell you about our CGC, Control General of Customs. You know, before now, how many people had with us? Imagine bringing a professor to the chief of army staff. Maybe as a customs officer, they post me to be editor of Guardian.
You are this one.
Or carry customs officer. But all is a different case. Or you carry customs officer to go and give him chief of army staff. How will you look like? Because of the imbalances in Nigerian state, we have been having that. But in 2023, His Excellency decided to appoint one of our own, Mr. ENIOLA DANIEL. He was former PRO of Nigerian Customs Service, a thoroughbred professional, humane, sharp in intellect. There are many things I don't want to say because I'm a friend of this house. Yes. So he has been hardworking, and he said somebody you can relate to. As a controller, I can call him on phone, he will pick my call. I sent him reply. Our bonuses are being paid. As I'm talking to you, I have about 10 vehicles to collect in the next 2 days. Yes. Haylocks for the command alone. So we are having vehicles that we use in fighting these smugglers, because these are dead devil smugglers. So we have never had it so good before. So I want the press to help us to project this man. Now today, about a few days ago, he won the chairmanship of World Customs Union, which has never happened before. And I'm sure international community, you can't bribe them. They know his citizens, they know his quality. That's why he won that election and was appointed. So we have a good man in him. Nigeria is blessed to have a man like him as the head of Nigerian Customs. And in all areas, in all angles, we have been winning. We have been making more revenue. We have been facilitating trade. That also reminds me to the last stage of the job of Nigerian Customs. Facilitation of trade. In economy, there are what you call law of comparative advantage. What you have, you export. What you don't have, you import. Nigerian Customs is in the vanguard of providing a veritable and fertile ground for trade to thrive. That's why every year we are modernizing our computerization and IT processes at the post, so that to make it quicker, so somebody can remove his good within 24 hours. And we are doing it now.